Hello YouTube and welcome to Old Maryland 63 C10. This is episode 5 of Rebuilding Hank, our C10. We are down to the frame and the motor, and we're going to remove the motor and get some of this other stuff out of the way and get the frame all cleaned up. So stay tuned. Okay, so as we mentioned, we're down to the motor and frame. So the goal today is to get the motor out, obviously get this exhaust, get the drive shaft out, and a couple of the other things that are hanging on the frame. We're going to pressure wash everything, get it cleaned up so we can see exactly what we're working with, and we'll probably knock some extra brackets off that we won't be using in the rebuilding of Hank. And we're basically getting the chassis ready to start doing some of the mock-ups for some of the changes that we're making to the truck. So the first thing we're going to do is knock off this old exhaust, get the drive shaft out, cut the exhaust off up there at the motor, and just basically get started stripping it down to the Okay, the drive shaft is out. It fought me a little bit getting out. All the universal joints fell apart, so that was a little bit harder, but it came out no problem. So we are now working on getting the motor and the transmission out of the truck. So the next thing we're going to do is break loose the clutch. I don't know if it was the previous owner or the owner before that must have lost the rod between the Z-bar and the clutch fork, because this looks like it's just a bent piece of metal tied in there with wire. So we're going to get all that out. And then take the motor mount bolts out and the transmission bolt out, and we're going to hopefully pick this motor right on out of the chassis. So let's get the clutch out and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we've got the motor mounts out, we've got the clutch Z-bar and the ball and the linkage to the clutch fork removed. Gas lines weren't hooked up in it anyway because I got this truck and it wasn't running. So there's no gas lines to disconnect. Wire harness I removed from the cab, so that's all just still tucked in with the motor. So we're gonna pick this thing up and hopefully get this off of Hank's chassis. Okay, so we got Hank's frame up on the trailer. We're going to start pressure washing and try to knock most of the heavy stuff off. I did get some of the purple cleaner from one of the big box stores that I mixed up in a spray bottle. So once I do one pressure wash, I'll go ahead and spray it down with the cleaner just to see if that helps with getting more of the grease off. It's not a lot of grease on the chassis, it's mostly just dirt, but we'll try to get it as clean as we can before we bring it back into the barn. Okay, so we got the chassis back in the garage, all dried out. It's looking pretty good. I got most of the grime off of it. Still a few spots that are pretty heavy, but certainly better than it was. So the next step is to remove some brackets and some extra pieces that are on the frame that we're not going to use in the build. So looking at the front of the truck, I'm going to go ahead and knock these lower radiator supports out. These two pieces right here. Because we're going to go with the V8 mounting spot, which is up here on the cross member. So we're going to go ahead and knock those out. As we move down the chassis, there is a electric fuel pump that the previous owner had installed. We're going to go ahead and get that off along with the hose. There is a bracket right here that was for exhaust. We're going to go ahead and pull that out. There's another bracket right here for exhaust that the owner had put on, and there's another bracket back here that was has a factory rivet in it. The other thing we're going to take off is this brace in the back here that is for the spare tire, because this brace needs to come out in order to do the gas tank relocation that I got. So I'm going to put the gas tank in this spot back here. So the first thing we're going to knock off is this bracket right here. So we'll go ahead and take that off. Pretty much will be the same process the rest of the way through. I'll kind of walk through it a little bit, but I'm basically going to cut a slot in the top of the rivet and try to push it out the rest of the way with my my pneumatic hammer and hopefully pop those right off. So let's get started working on that. Okay, I couldn't get the angle grinder going this way too well, so we just cut a couple slots this way and a little angle there, just to get a little bit of the head knocked off before we try to push it out with the gun. Just to note a few things that I am going to leave on the chassis. Right now I'm going to leave all the parking brake wires and brackets in the chassis, because the next thing we're going to do is probably work on mocking up the exhaust, and I want to make sure I leave all the wires and that kind of things there so I can kind of know what I'm working around. The same with the original fuel line that runs up along here and the brake lines, just to be able to keep the bends where they are, so when I put the tank in the back, I'll be able to hopefully follow. I don't know if you can see that down there in the shadow, but I can hopefully follow the original lines when I'm making my bending my tubing to bring the gas line up from the back of the truck. So left those things in here because, again, that's going to be part of the, the mock-up. Okay, now we're over here on the passenger side. This is the core support for the radiator, and this bracket looks like it's pulled away. Well, it doesn't look like it. It is pulled away from the frame. The rivet is still in there, and it's hard to tell if the rivet ever had a head on it. I'm not sure if this came from the factory this way, or this truck, I guess, could have had an accident on this side. I guess time will tell when we start doing front end alignments and all that kind of good stuff. But it looks like it's pulled away a little bit. I will try to straighten this out and pull it back with a bolt and maybe some heat to be able to square it back up again before I either paint it or powder coat or whatever we're going to do. The other thing that I noticed on the passenger side is this cab mount is an oval, and it's pretty perfect oval almost, so I don't think it rusted that way. I have a feeling it might have been that way from the factory. Again, hard to tell, but I did find that. I pulled tape measures across the frame in different places just to check to see how square it was. It seems to be pretty close. I compared it to my parts truck frame, and again, depending on where you pulled, they're within about 1/8 inch of each other. So I'm assuming that's all going to be good. I did find the serial number on the chassis, and it's the same as the VIN tag on the truck, so I know this truck rolled off of the assembly line with this frame. So hopefully everything will be okay. Hey everybody, well, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching us strip the chassis down a little bit and get it a little cleaned up. If this is helping you with your project, please like our video and subscribe to our channel. Our next video is going to be pretty exciting, at least for me, because we're now starting to go back the other direction. So now we're going to start mocking up a few things to start putting Hank back together. So we're already at that point, which is pretty exciting. So the next one's probably going to be putting the motor in the chassis and getting the exhaust mocked up to see how that's going to fit. So stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next episode.